Heroes are all around US and they come in many guises. Merriam-Webster has a variety of definitions, including a mythological or legendary figure, often of divine descent, endowed with great strength or ability, or an object of extreme admiration and devotion. If you were to ask 100 different people to name their hero, you would most likely get 100 different answers. Today, Tom will share with us his hero. Please welcome me, Tom Doyle, with my hero.
Toastmasters, fellow Toastmaster. A boy was walking along the beach one day. The tide had ebbed and the beach was littered with starfish. He was walking along and in a gung-ho manner, reaching down, picking up starfish and tossing them back into the sea. A businessman who was on vacation from the busy New York setting was watching him for a while, and finally he went over to him and said, "Lad, what are you doing?" The lad looked up at him and said, "I'm rescuing the starfish." The guy looked over and he saw the beach was littered with hundreds and hundreds of starfish. He said, "Do you not realize how futile that is? What kind of difference do you think you're going to make? You're not going to be able to rescue them all." Well, the little boy looked at him very thoughtfully, then deliberately reached down, picked up a starfish, threw it back into the ocean, and said, "It made a difference to that one." A hero. The very word conjures similar yet very distinct images in each person's mind. For some people, a hero might be General MacArthur, who refused to simply abandon the Philippines. When ordered to relocate, he vowed, "I shall return," giving hope and encouragement for an eventual victory over Japan. For others, it might be Abraham Lincoln, who dedicated the Gettysburg battlefield, resolving that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Or Martin Luther King Jr., who inspired the country to let freedom ring. Or the firefighter who hands off a small, terrified child to a panic-stricken parent with the words, "He's all right." Or perhaps it's Mother Teresa, who tells us, "Let us always meet each other with a smile, for a smile is the beginning of love." For me, my personal hero is actually the man who said a very famous quote in my mind. He said, "Good night, son. I love you." Yes, my hero is my dad, for he embodies everything I've just mentioned and much, much more. Like General MacArthur, my dad never abandoned me. He's always been there when I needed him, even if he was miles away. He always returned. The first time a girlfriend broke up with me, and yes, that has happened, my dad was there to hold me. Every band concert that I played in, he was there to cheer me on. And at my college graduation, my dad was there to congratulate me. Even now, while living down in Sun City, Arizona, my dad calls me and reminds me that he's always there, giving me hope and encouragement. We learn from history that Abraham Lincoln kept this country together, fighting for the freedom of all of its citizens. Well, my dad also fought for the freedom of this country. He served as a staff sergeant in both the Air Force and the Marines during the Korean War. And although his blood did not consecrate any of that ground, his sweat helped ensure that this nation, under God, shall not perish from the earth. Later in life, he then entered the political arena. After a failed attempt for county commissioner, he was elected by the people of Deerwood as a city council member, proving that we are a government of the people. During his political career, he listened to and worked for the people of Deerwood, resulting in a savings of hundreds of dollars each year for that small community of 500 people. While Martin Luther King Jr. peacefully fought for freedom through equality, my dad practiced that equality. Growing up with my dad, I never learned the meaning of racism. I never saw prejudice or preferred treatment of anyone. I learned from a man who taught me to never deal with whites, blacks, Indians, or Orientals. Never trade with a Jew, a Christian, or an atheist. Never talk with a man or a woman. Rather, what I learned was to deal, trade, and converse with people. And although my dad never rescued me from a burning building, he was the one who drove me to the hospital when I fractured my leg playing softball. He was the one who reacted calmly the day that I passed out from heat stroke and lost over a pint of blood out of my nose. My dad was the person who found me trapped under an overturned snowmobile. And it was my dad that patched me up after my horse decided to take out the neighbor's barbed wire fence with me astride her. And each time, it was my dad who comforted my mom with the words, "He's all right." Just as Mother Teresa ministered to the world, spreading peace, joy, and love to those who needed it, my dad ministered to my world, filling me with peace, joy, and love. Along the way, he taught me the importance of helping others in need by stopping on a snowy night to help someone push their car out of the ditch. He taught me to trust in others, even though it'll mean occasionally getting hurt. And finally, he taught me to respect others and treat them the way I want them to treat me. All of these lessons he taught to me by example. Yes, my dad is my hero. He may not have been a general in the world's greatest army riding in a ticker tape parade. He may not have been the president of the greatest country on earth leading us through a national crisis. He may not have been a peace activist fighting for the rights and freedoms of all mankind. He may not have rescued strangers from a disaster, delivering them to their panic-stricken parents. He may not have traveled the world over, ministering to those people in need. In fact, his name may never appear in a future generation's history book. But in my life, in my world, and my history books, my dad outshines all those other heroes. For it was my dad that picked me up and made a difference to this one. Toastmasters.